ends Yu Menglong case. The moment the world stopped, the air was heavy, the courtroom silent, and millions waited with bated breath. Tonight, history has been made. The final trial in the Yu Menglong case has ended, and with it, the truth the world has demanded for months has finally been revealed. For some, the verdict brought relief. For others, heartbreak. But one thing is certain. This case has shaken not just China, not just Asia, but the entire world of entertainment. The star who captured hearts. Before the tragedy, Yu Menglong was more than just a name. He was a voice that calmed souls. An actor who lit up screens with quiet grace. A man who, despite fame, carried himself with humility. To his fans, he wasn't distant. He was someone they felt they knew. Someone who smiled gently, who made them believe in sincerity, in kindness, in love. And then one night in Beijing, everything changed. A fall from a building. A death that made no sense. And questions that refused to fade. The suspects. From the very beginning, whispers filled the air. Was it an accident? Was it intentional? Or was there something far darker hidden behind the glittering lights of celebrity life? 3 suspects soon emerged. 3 figures tied to the events of that fateful night. Their names were plastered across headlines. Their faces dissected by the public. But behind every headline was one haunting question. Who was truly responsible for the loss of Yu Menglong? The trial begins. The courtroom became a stage. Every session was broadcast across the nation. Every testimony trended online. Fans sat outside in the cold, holding candles. Placards bore his name. Some prayed. Some demanded justice. Others simply wept. Inside, lawyers fought with fierce determination. Evidence was presented. Footage analyzed. Witnesses called. And through it all, the image of Yu Menglong lingered, watching silently from framed photographs placed by supporters. The final day. And now, months later, the final day arrived. The world stopped to listen. Inside the courtroom, tension was unbearable. The suspects stood trembling. Their families wept quietly in the background. Fans outside chanted his name. Yu Menglong. Yu Menglong. Justice for Menglong. The judge entered. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. And then, with a voice that cut through the stillness, the verdict was delivered. The verdict. The first suspect, guilty. The second suspect, guilty. The third, not guilty. Gasps filled the room. One suspect broke down, collapsing into tears. Another stood frozen, as if the words had struck like lightning. And the one acquitted wept, shaking uncontrollably, as if freedom was too heavy to bear. The punishment was clear. Years behind bars. Lives forever changed. But for the fans, for the family, for the millions watching worldwide, the verdict was not just about punishment. It was about closure. The world reacts. Outside the courthouse, the scene was chaos. Reporters screamed into cameras. Fans hugged each other, sobbing uncontrollably. Some shouted justice. Others cried out that no verdict could bring him back. On social media, hashtags spread across the globe. Hashtag justice for yumenglong. Hashtag final verdict. Hashtag never forget Menglong. Celebrities posted tributes. International media carried the story on front pages. And across continents, fans lit candles, leaving messages of love in online memorials. Beyond the verdict ended the trial. But it did not end the grief. It did not end the loss of a star who had so much more to give. For his family, this is only the beginning of healing. For his fans, this is a reminder that fame can be fragile, and life, even more so. And for the industry, the trial serves as a warning. Truth cannot stay hidden forever. The legacy of Yu Menglong. Tonight, the Yu Menglong case is closed. The suspects have heard their fate. The world has heard the truth. But Yu Menglong's story does not end with a verdict. It lives on in his songs, in his dramas, in the quiet smile captured forever on film, and most of all in the millions of hearts he touched. This is not just the end of a trial. It is a reminder that love, memory, and legacy are stronger than tragedy. Yu Menglong may be gone, but he will never be forgotten. The aftermath begins. The verdict may have closed the case, but outside the courthouse, the story was only just beginning. As the convicted suspects were led away in handcuffs, cameras flashed wildly. Every step was captured, every tear recorded. Their faces, once hidden by denial, now immortalized as symbols of guilt. One suspect shouted as guards pulled him forward. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. His words echoed across the marble walls, haunting those who heard them. The acquitted suspect collapsed into the arms of family, shaking uncontrollably. Freedom felt like a punishment of its own. For in the eyes of the world, innocence had already been tainted. The media storm. Within minutes, the headlines spread like wildfire. Justice delivered in Yu Menglong case. 2 convicted, 1 walks free. The tragedy that changed Chinese entertainment forever. Television stations replayed the courtroom footage on endless loop. Talk shows debated the verdict deep into the night. Legal experts dissected the judge's words, line by line. And online, fans clashed. Some believed justice had been served. Others cried out that the sentence was too light. And a growing voice whispered that no verdict could ever bring Menglong back. The fans remember. Across Beijing, fans gathered in candlelight vigils. Photos of Yu Menglong lined sidewalks. White flowers filled the air with the scent of morning. Handwritten letters, some smeared with tears, were left at the foot of posters. One note read, "You were our light. Even in death you shine." Another, "Justice was found, but peace will come only when we see you again." In cities across the world, from Seoul to Los Angeles, from Bangkok to Paris, fans created memorials of their own. Screens lit up with his face. Songs he once sang played softly in crowded streets. The world was united in grief and in remembrance. The industry in shock. Inside the entertainment industry, the verdict shook foundations. Directors spoke of tightening safety protocols. Agencies released statements condemning the toxic practices that had once remained hidden. Actors who had worked with Menglong posted tributes, their words raw and unpolished. One co-star wrote, "He was the kindest man I ever met. If you saw his smile, you knew it was real. We didn't just lose a star. We lost a brother." The silence of his absence was louder than any performance. Behind prison walls. Meanwhile, for the convicted suspects, a new reality began. Prison gates closed behind them. The world that once knew their names now spat them out as villains. In interviews, wardens described them as broken, silent, haunted. One refused to eat. Another stared endlessly at the ceiling, muttering Menglong's name like a curse. Justice had been served, but peace had not followed them inside. The legacy continues. And so, the case is over. The gavel has fallen. But Yu Menglong's story continues to live. Fans replay his dramas, their viewership soaring. Old interviews trend again, his laughter echoing across timelines. Songs he once recorded climb charts once more, as if the world wants to keep his voice alive. In the end, the trial gave answers. But Yu Menglong gave something greater. A legacy of love, art, and memory. A star who never dies. Tonight, the chapter has closed. But the book of Yu Menglong's life remains open. His fall was tragic. The trial was painful. But his memory is eternal. In the hearts of his family. In the tears of his fans. And in the pages of history. Yu Menglong may have been taken too soon. But his light, his truth, and his story will never fade. This was not just the end of a trial. It was the beginning of his immortality.